hello to the African American Network and our continuing coverage of the Caregiving series. Certainly a provocative topic in that all of us at some time or another find ourselves either giving care or being cared for. And so this is a very special session because we have a revisit from a very special person, Ms. Pat Moore. And Pat Moore, again, we want to say welcome.
Thank you.
We are delighted to have you back again.
I'm happy to be back again.
well, thank you. Before we get started, I got one question I want to ask before we go into anything else.
Okay.
And you'll remember, I'm sure, what your answer was before. Mm-hmm. How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
All right, one bite at a time. And so we're talking about balance here. And in today's program, I think we're going to hear a little bit more on that balance. And Pat, since the last time we saw you, you were getting ready to enter into some advanced treatment. Mm-hmm. And it's my understanding that you've done so. Mm-hmm. And if you could take a few minutes just to tell us where you're at in that journey right now.
So that journey, pretty much from the chemo radiation perspective, has ended. I did 12 sessions of chemo, which were long because those 12 sessions lasted for 3 days. When you would start the chemo, when I began my chemo treatment, initially I was doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Mm-hmm. So I began on Wednesday and ended on Friday. Mm-hmm. And you didn't leave and, get disconnected. When I left this cancer center, they sent me home with a bag I was attached to that continued to give me chemo for the next 2 days.
Wow.
And then on the third day, I'd go back and they'd detach me. I'd take a week off, and then we'd do that all over again. We did that for 12 sessions.
Wow. And
then afterwards, they did the surgery, found out that the cancer had moved to my lymph nodes. And so now we got to do 28 sessions of radiation while taking the chemo as a oral pill. Yeah. So that has ended, though. I'm happy to say here I am. I always say now I'm a living testimony.
Hoorah.
Because typically with pancreatic cancer, this is not the end result. No. And so the doctor, my oncologist, said I could now say I'm cancer-free.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
So those have all ended, but we still have physical therapy that I'm doing, and we still have to see the nutritionalist.
Wow, Miss Pat. Well, I think I referred to you initially as a super trooper.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to volunteer to be one. It's another thing to find yourself out there in the field and say, well, if I'm going to hang in there, I got to hang in there. Yeah. And so that helps define that term for me. Mm-hmm. And you have truly experienced a great deal of resistance to the elements, pain, and all the other things that are spooky.
Yeah.
And you've come through it, and in my opinion, with flying colors while you're still traveling through it. Mm-hmm. Just the fact that you have accomplished what you've accomplished, and your body has been able to withstand that chemical assault, which unfortunately, which way you want to look at it, has been one of the primary means for treating cancer. And of course, the unique thing about your experience is that when you were interviewed the first time, you were sharing how you had responsibility as a caregiver. Mm-hmm. And then in the process of being a caregiver, you ended up being cared for, mm-hmm. which I think is a very unique set of circumstances. I mean, to be able to see the river from both sides and to experience that, indeed. Tell us that transformation. I think you were taking care of hubby at the time.
I was.
And it's my understanding that he's primarily taking care of you. Share
That's
a little
what
bit
happened.
about that.
I was taking care of him because he is also a cancer survivor. Wow. And so I was taking care of him and making sure he got to his appointments and got to his treatments. And then, the table got flipped to where I now am the person with cancer.
Phenomenal.
And somebody's got to take care of me.
Wow.
And it was a transition for him because initially he was a little fearful.
Yeah, I
remember that conversation. But by the time we got into it now, a year in, he stepped all in. There's the fear is gone. Only thing he couldn't do was cook, but we ate out a lot.
Has he improved on that?
No, he still doesn't cook.
All right.
We ate out a lot.
All right.
But it's interesting that you said the assault on the body. because that's what I think helped him step into it so much more stronger. Is the outside world saw this, this person that was standing up tall and strong, because I refused to let it take me down. I just,
Yes, you
my
did.
mentality was, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to fight through this. You remember I said you got to have some faith.
Yes, I
In
do.
my faith walk, I said, Lord, why am I dealing with this? And he said, why not you? Okay, so if it's got to be me, then let me stand up, prop me up, Lord, so we can get through this.
Absolutely.
But my husband got to see the assault on my body. He got to see the neuropathy to where I couldn't zip my clothes up anymore and I couldn't button my clothes up anymore. And my balance was off because the chemo and the gave me neuropathy really bad in my feet and in my hands to where I didn't have any feeling. Still to this day, there's no feeling. It hasn't come back yet in my hands and my feet. And so he knew he had to step up because she can't cook, she can't function because she can't feel things, And so I became 100% dependent just about. Because it's something when you don't really think about it, but you have to button clothes and zip clothes.
Yes, yes.
And when you
Things you
lose
kinda take for
feeling,
granted, isn't it?
you do. You lose feeling. Becomes a challenge to do.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually tried cooking for Thanksgiving that first year and burnt myself and never knew I burnt myself until it
'Cause
blistered
you
up.
couldn't
I didn't feel it.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
So that transition became 100% dependency to where you're no longer caring for somebody, they're now caring for you.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
And his condition?
His
at this point?
condition is the same, but I said, that's a Vietnam vet. He just said, this is what I got to do.
You gotta do
This is
what
what
you
I got
gotta
to do. Yep.
My goodness, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Pat, the viewing audience, of course, we know that there are all sorts of combinations of this caregiving, being caregiver, caretaker, starting off on this end and ending up over here. Your experience is certainly a unique one indeed. You were sharing with me a little analogous situation to some of the coworkers. Can you share that with?
So because I never stopped working, my oncologist, when this began, said, are you going to work? And I said, yeah, I plan to. He goes, let's see how that works out for you. They didn't believe that was going to be possible to do.
Yes,
and
I
I
see.
will say that during those weeks where I had chemotherapy, I didn't work but 2 days. I could not work during those chemotherapy session days. It just zaps all your energy.
It's too draining.
It's too draining. The nausea was just unbearable. And so for the 3 days that I did chemo, I didn't work. But for the 2 days that I didn't, I worked. And then the week after, when there was no chemo, I worked.
My goodness.
And so it became knowledge to my coworkers that, I was going through cancer treatment and all this kind of stuff, but I was still showing up at work. And so we have a newsletter that comes out once a month. And for the month of May, I was in the newsletter, and my coworker who wrote it put joy. The sort of the theme was joy, resilience, and commitment. Wow. And she said the joy was that I showed up every day, joyful, never complaining, just going through doing what the job entailed.
Wow.
The commitment was the same, that I showed up every day,
That is
and was
tremendous.
committed to. She said instead of stepping backward, she stepped into
You step
it.
forward.
And then the resilience was that, in spite of what she may have been feeling, she kept serving the customers and engaging with us. And then she gave a little statistical point for them to think about. She said, think about this. Of 100 people diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, 87 will die. And so that to me was like, oh, wow, I had never thought of it that way.
Wow.
And she said, and she never sort of faltered. She never let us see, fear or I'm complaining about how bad I feel.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
showed up just joyful.
Well, I think the phenomenal part of that story is that we tend to look at maladies and conditions and things that have a terminal history, and poor you. We love you. We wish there was more that we could do. Here you are taking something, a condition, and they actually are seeing the strength that you projected. And I think for the audience, from a spiritual, from a higher level of possibilities. Here's Miss Pat coming out of the worst set of circumstances, and not only did they recognize her strength, but they utilized it and the potentiality of impacting on others as well. It just shows you how everything is connected, and we're connected. And the worst set of circumstances can, in fact, have some of the most wonderful outcomes.
Absolutely.
And
And my friend stepped up. My friend Stephanie took me to appointments. She took me to chemo treatment. My sister stepped in. My sister lives in Dallas. She made a trip every month.
wow.
Every month. She came
Wow.
every month just to see.
So
okay,
they became part of the care.
they became part of the care
giving
team.
care
Yes, my
team.
friend Eliza, and I always laugh because Eliza doesn't like getting on the highway.
Here she's showing up.
Yeah, and so she would take me to treatments.
Oh, Miss
And if
Pat.
the treatment was at 9, we'd leave home at 6 because she wasn't getting on the highway.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
my friend stepped in. They brought food. My niece started a meal train, and people even off of social media were donating to the meal train. And so what that was is people put money on a card that my husband could then use and say, okay, what are we going to eat today? Because they knew he
Oh.
didn't. And the meal train ended up with like $1,500. You can eat a lot, when you're
Wow.
eating out, and you're not eating like J. Alexander's every day. You can eat a lot. So
What a
those kind of things.
story.
I had friends who brought food, who cooked dinner. So people
Yes.
stepped up
Yes.
in my circle. My support team, I didn't realize was that strong until I needed them. And
Until the call
then
came.
when the call came,
Yeah, they showed
they
up.
showed up.
They showed up. Well, Miss Pat, thinking about all that you've been through, what would you like to share with, and unlike the other interviewees, we're bringing you back so we have a before and sort of after. And so your perspective has certainly been magnified in many different ways. What are some highlight things that you think is instrumental in helping the journey as a care giver or one who's receiving care? What can you tell the viewer?
To be open, like I said before, you sometimes have to step back because sometimes people receiving care are not always pleasant.
Okay.
Again, knowing about that insurance. Remember the first time I talked about
Yes,
that,
you highlighted
there were
that.
some
Yes.
things that got
Yes.
denied, as part of my care. And so advocating to say, okay, so what are we going to do? How are we going to make this happen? Even getting the doctors involved, and the doctor saying, don't worry about that. We have another avenue we can take to
Ah.
make this happen. Okay, medication. The medication for chemo was quite pricey, and so they didn't want it filled at the pharmacy I was going to. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, we got to find another pharmacy, a specialty pharmacy that will fill it for a lower cost. So those are things that you really have to speak up and ask questions about. There's no such thing as a dumb question. That the one you don't ask, that's the dumb question.
Right.
And then just having the attitude. My attitude was, we're gonna get through this. Remember how you eat that elephant? One
Yes.
bite at a time.
That's why I
All
started
right,
the
yeah.
program off with. I
So
remember.
we just kept biting off of that elephant until it was all gone, and here we are.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm just happy that we had such a phenomenal support system,
Yes, you did.
that stepped in to help my husband, realizing that he was the one that was getting the care, and now he's the one giving the care, and he may need some help. And
Yes.
so my friends
Yes.
and my family
Yes.
stepped on board to say, okay, what do you need from us?
Wow.
And so just having that circle and not being afraid to ask people, if you ask them, here's what I need. I had a friend that I liked her corned beef. And so I said, can you make me some corned beef again? So
You
not
never
being
lost your
afraid to
appetite?
I never lost my appetite. And that's what was amazing to, I think, everybody. Because my sister said, I don't know why she's losing weight. She eats like a sumo wrestler.
Well, I think it also speaks to there's a tendency to group people together, and it shows how exceptional we are and how exceptional our bodies are.
Yeah.
And so that the adjustments we just don't know. I mean, this thing is based on demand. You can't use something unless there's a request to use it.
Yeah.
And I like the other thing concerning the medication, that you all kept kicking the tires, looking for other ways around, not to give up.
That's
because
it.
This is what they told you the first time around.
And you have to, you can't, I have a medicine now that it's $450 for a 30-day supply. Now, who's going to, yeah. But, got to take it because of what it does to the digestive system. And the surgery sort of altered my digestive system. But you call the company, and guess what? They have a subsidy.
Which you never would have known
Nope.
had you not pushed the
Yep.
issue.
And so the company subsidizes some of that cost for you based upon the necessity of the fact that you need the medicine.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
that
asking those
set of
questions
circumstances had to be there in order for them
Absolutely.
to go to the next level and offer and
and
say,
you
well,
don't feel bad about calling those pharmaceutical companies and saying, "Hey, I got to take XYZ, and this is what it cost, and the insurance doesn't cover it all. So what do you guys offer?"
all right. And that's exactly how you approached it. And they gave you a response, and they were able
Sure
to.
did. And guess what it cost me? $5.
Oh, my goodness.
But if you don't ask, you don't know. Now, if I had never asked, and we'd be trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to pay for this now?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can see from Miss Pat Moore's experience that an attitude of not giving up, asking questions, asking the question differently, putting a little moral responsibility on others. And so I think that speaks to, when we talk about cross-cultural awareness, there are so many things that we don't know about, we're not afforded, or we see things through a different set of lenses.
Right.
And sometimes you have to change those lenses. Let's try that. That doesn't work with it, and think outside that box. But it sounds to me that one of the most important points that you've emphasized is to plan, ask those questions, be persistent, look at the model, change it around. And I think that's going to be very essential for us to be effective caregivers and recipients of the care. We have to have an attitude of, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to get a team together that maybe they can ask the question differently. And so we can see the importance of being an advocate for yourself, being an advocate for the care. And I think Ms. Pat is representing that well. And so we have perhaps a minute. Give them something to chew on this evening other than the corned beef sandwich.
I always say, you have to have people in your corner. This is going to be my own plug. As an insurance agent, I tell my clients, when it becomes difficult for you, that's why I'm here. So call me, especially when something that's medically related. All right. And so if you can't call your insurance agent and ask questions, then call me. All right. I'll become your insurance agent and ask the questions for you. But yeah, you have to just get your care team on board, communicate with people. Don't be afraid. I think we're sometimes afraid to let people in and know what's going on, but they can't help you if they don't know what's going on.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
you have to ask the questions and don't be afraid to share. Here's my situation. Do you know anything about this? What options are there for me?
Well, we thank you, Ms. Pat. I think your advice is not only worthy of its content, but it comes from a very special place. You've walked the walk. You've been down the road. You've been on both sides, and that's what makes your appearance again so very special.
Okay.
And we're going to continue to bring back our participants, our interviewees, and to just check on them, see where they're at any given time. And so again, we feel very fortunate, very delighted. Miss Pat Moore, Super Trooper, alias, can do it if you want it done. And so we want to thank you. We wish you and your husband all the blessings. And African American Network just appreciate you taking the time to come here today. Under duress, Pat is going to be out there. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to our caregiving series. And you heard it from Ms. Pat Moore. And again, we are so delighted to have her here today. Thank you, Ms. Pat. God bless you.
Thank you for having me.
We love you. We love you all out there. Take care of yourself. Stay well, and stay tuned for the next series of the Caregiving series.